Good morning. Good morning. Give a couple minutes for the live to start up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
What's up, guys? We are doing A Course in Miracles. Today, I'm actually going to talk about leadership. I'm going to talk about the development of trust. Oh, Brooke. Hey, good morning. Everybody on IG. Hello. And Facebook or wherever you're tuning in from. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Let's start our mornings off. Mornings are super important. This week, I've just been talking about mornings with so many people. I think it's because it's one of the questions I ask on my podcast. How do you start your day? How do you get motivated? How do you ground yourself? Because winning the morning is super important. Like for the rest of the day, you may not know what else is going to happen. You may not have control of your time because stuff just happens. In the morning, you can wake up maybe a little bit earlier than normal, get a morning routine in, write down things that you're grateful for, write down a list of things that is top priority to accomplish for the day. Those are all good tips. Good tips. And okay. As people are joining today, I'm just do a quick introduction to A Course in Miracles. This is the book right here that we use. And basically on around every single topic of my life, I use the teachings of A Course in Miracles to help me navigate them gracefully, to navigate through my challenges, to be able to see through them, and ultimately to give it all over to the Holy Spirit and to God. So with me today, Natalia, who is going to be an author in a book, right, is joining us as my co-host here. And yeah, why don't you just introduce yourself real quick and
Sure.
say hi.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Natalia Pasos, and I'm excited to be here today. And yeah, I'm actually going to be a co-author in a book. It's called Powerful Female Immigrants. And I was sharing with Alex last night that I realized that most of what I talked about was A Course in Miracles in the chapter of that book, and God and my relationship with God, and how that has led my life. So I'm excited. I'm excited for it. And you didn't ask me, but I thought as you posed that question of how important mornings are, I start my mornings. I love to share how I start my mornings. I actually start my mornings with A Course in Miracles workbook, which is one of the volumes in the book that Alex showed, and it's really supported me go through the challenges that I've been facing in the last 3 months, and it creates a foundation for my day. And every time I open the book and I go through the lesson of that day, it really supports me throughout the entire day. So that's one of the things that I do in my mornings. I do the Course in Miracles workbook.
Awesome. Yeah. So the workbook. So this is the book right here, and there's three sections. The first one is just the text. It's the theory, behind. It's a thick, dense, 31 chapters of what the course talks about, and then next is a workbook. A workbook is 365 lessons designed to gently help you release all the things that you hold so close to you, that you make so special in your mind. And it helps you gently release it, and help you move your judgments and all of that stuff and give it over to spirit. It helps you recognize that, wow, what I see and what I hear isn't even really exactly what's going on. And it doesn't put it right there like that, but it makes it nice and simple for you. And every day, a lesson, it gently moves in and it gets deeper and deeper into the teachings of the course. And then the third section is called the Manual for Teachers, which is for people that it's really a section that answers a lot of questions that students may have as they're reading the course. Right? I have multiple people that bought the course since joining these calls, and they're like, "Man, this is a hard read." It's not meant to be just read and then put down, right? This is a book. This is A Course in Miracles that constantly, every single paragraph is going to challenge you, because every moment our minds are going back and forth between the real world and the world that we live in. And that's what the course says. So what it actually says, okay, so I'll just read from the introduction, the preface section of what the course says. And let's see if we can take this and relate to some things that are happening in our lives. And, once we can do that, usually it helps us understand the lessons and the teachings of the course a little bit better when we're able to do that. So what the course says is that nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So what's real and what's unreal? That right there, the first three sentences just presents and asks us the question, the important question of what is real and what doesn't exist. I mean, what is real and what is an illusion? And what the course says is, this is how A Course in Miracle begins. It makes a fundamental distinction of the real and the unreal, between knowledge and perception. Knowledge is truth under one law, the law of love or God. Truth is unalterable, eternal, unambiguous. It can be recognized, but it can be unrecognized, but it cannot be changed. It applies to everything that God has created, and the only thing the only thing and what He creates is real. It is beyond learning because it is beyond time and process. It has no opposites, no beginning, no end. It merely is. So that's truth. That's knowledge. It just never changes. It merely is. The world of perception, on the other hand, is the world of time, of change, of beginnings, of endings. It is based on interpretation, not on facts. It is the world of birth and death, founded on the belief in scarcity, loss, separation, and death. It is learned rather than given, selective in its perceptual emphasis, unstable in its functioning, and inaccurate in its interpretations. From knowledge and perception, relatively two distinct thought systems arise, which are opposite in every respect. So if you think about this is what the course is saying, where it's going to make everything actually really simple for us, is that there's only two thought systems ever existing. See, we complicate it by adding a whole bunch of other things to it, but there's really just two thought systems that you have. They are opposites in every respect. There's no parts of it that they are the same. Okay. In the realm of knowledge, no thoughts exist apart from God, because God and His creation share one will. The world of perception, however, is made by the belief in opposites and separate wills in perpetual conflict with each other and with God. So there's only two thought systems. Either one, you are connected and joined with the will of God, which you recognize that is your own, or it's on separation, conflict, right? We're conflicting with each other and we're conflicting with God. All of our wills are separate and opposites, which obviously, if we live in a world like that, which is this world that we live in, okay, our perception of the world that we live in right now is that everything is opposites. It's always me against you, and there's always multiple things happening, and that we don't share one will. If we don't share one will, then I can't really trust you. So we will talk at some point. We may get into the development of trust, but if we don't share the same will, I can't really truly trust you, right? Because on some level, we might not gel together. So it's the recognition that there is only one will. There is no conflict. That's one thought. The other thought is obviously is everything is separate. What perception sees and hears appears to be real because it permits into the awareness only what conforms to the wishes of the perceiver. You are the perceiver, okay? And this world is real for us that we live in: cars, houses, money, our identity, our beliefs, our religion, our government. Everything seems to be real to us because it conforms to my thinking already. That I actually wish to be right about, that this world is dangerous, that we can't trust people, and this and this and all of our other belief systems. And that's the way we see the world. So the world actually is just conforming to the wishes of the perceiver, okay, to how we see it. Now, how do we shift that? This leads into the world of illusions, a world that needs constant defense precisely because it is not real. It's not really happening. It's like there is a world, there is heaven. Imagine we're just perceiving heaven, and it's beautiful. It just is. There is no, multiple judgments about if it's good, as if it's bad, if whatever, if the trees are nice in there. There's none of that. Everything simply just is. You are aligned perfectly. And that's what's there. That's what's here right now. Now, we look at it because of our own separate judgments and our disconnection from source and from God, that we see it how we want to see it. Based on the stories, based on what I believe is beautiful, I will judge the space that I'm in. I will judge the people that I'm around. I will judge heaven. If I walked into heaven, I will decide what's good, what's not good. And immediately our minds go to that. Why is that? It's so insane. And because we want to be right about something, if we ever get into an argument or a debate with anybody, you can literally see yourself wanting to be right about something, and it requires constant defense. In that moment, the world is dangerous because you are getting into an argument or a fight with somebody. And when that's happening, your ego kicks in and says, see, this is why the world is dangerous. But the reason why that's even happening is because you're trying to defend your already preconceived notion of the world or of people or of your family member or whoever, or the belief system that I'm not good with money, or people of this cannot be trusted. People that do that cannot be trusted. I can't talk about money, at family dinners. This is how salespeople always are. I mean, how many different we have so much like junk of judgments that we project everywhere we go. So when you have been caught up in the world of perception, you're actually just caught up in a dream. So we're starting to make it lighter, like not a insult or an attack that you're in a dream, but okay, if it's a dream, then it's not real. If it's not real, then I'm not really in danger. The idea and the thought maybe in this moment that I don't have enough and I'm not good enough, that's just a dream. It's actually a relief, right? But you could see, if our egos are speaking so loud, when I say that your world of perception, our world of perception is simply a dream, we can take that as an attack. If we've attacked so many people and we're just used to attack thoughts in our mind, any little thing that people say to us that is a challenge, you're protecting yourself so much that it becomes an attack. Okay. You cannot escape this dream without help, because everything your senses show merely witness to the reality of that dream. Your senses are literally reinforcing it constantly. However, God has provided the answer, the only way out, the true helper. It is a function of his voice, his Holy Spirit, to mediate between the two worlds. He can do this because while in one hand he knows the truth, but on the other, he also recognizes our illusions, but without believing in them. It is the Holy Spirit's goal to help us escape from the dream world by teaching us how to reverse our thinking and learn and unlearn our mistakes. Forgiveness is the Holy Spirit's great learning aid in bringing this thought reversal. about. However, the Course has its own definition of what forgiveness really is. It is defined as it is defined in the world in its own way. Okay, so now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a distinction of forgiveness in the Course and how we have it in the world. All right, the world we see merely reflects our own internal frame of reference, the dominant ideas, wishes, emotions in our mind. Okay, this is the first recognition, is that it merely reflects our own internal frame of reference. Projection makes perception. We look inside first, decide what kind of world we want to see, and we project the world outside, making it the truth as we see it. We make it true by our interpretations of what we are seeing. If we are using perception to justify our own mistakes, our own anger, our own impulses to attack, our lack of love in whatever form it takes, we will see a world of evil, destruction, malice, envy, despair. And all this we must learn to forgive, not because we are being good and charitable, but because what we are seeing is not true. We have distorted the world by our twisted defenses and are therefore seeing what is not there. As we learn to recognize our perceptual errors, we also learn to look past them or forgive them at the same time. At the same time, we are also forgiving ourselves, looking past our distortions of self-concept to the self, the capital self that God created in us and as us. And then here's the part. Sin is defined as lack of love. Okay, we think sin is a punishment that needs to happen. Sin is defined as lack of love. But since love is all there is, sin in the sight of the Holy Spirit, it's simply a mistake to be corrected rather than an evil to be punished. And oftentimes I use the GPS system. When you've made a wrong turn, you don't need to be punished. You know, you're going down the road, you're following the GPS, and it says to turn left. You're like, nah, I like turning right. Like, this is the way I want to go. The GPS is like, hey, it's left. So what, you don't get punished for turning right. All you do is really delay, and the Holy Spirit's like, here you go, next left, just here, turn left right here. So it's just a mistake. It's a course correction rather than an evil to be punished. Now we can look in our own minds, right? We can look every day to see where we are in judgment and we are actually crucifying people. We are attacking people. There's attack thoughts that come out. Whatever form it takes, however small your attack thoughts are, like, oh, this person's stupid. Who the hell does that? Like, just little things like that. Like, maybe this person should get a job. Maybe this, maybe that. Just our judgments in general. No form of attack. There is no order of differences. Everything is the same. Every expression of love is maximum extension of love. It goes out and it touches worlds and it makes a ripple effect that you won't even be able to grasp. You can't even comprehend how far it goes. Every attack also does the same. Now, attack needs to constantly be defended. Love just spreads. We can see it. We can feel it. It's in our hearts. We watch it in movies. We see it in TikTok videos. We see it, we read it in books. It's whatever. We can see love. Okay. When we recognize love, we're like, okay, that's love. However, the other side of our minds that is trying to be right, that the world isn't a safe place, right? The ego's like, I don't know. There's shootings here and there. There's people that you losing your money and everybody's stealing money and whatever is happening. There's still world hunger. The police is shit. The government is shit. Like, all of these things are only showing us what we have made real in our minds. It isn't actually real out there. And how do we bring our minds back to peace? We bring our minds back to peace is we cut through perception. We cut through perception because we recognize that perceptions are not the truth. It's simply somebody's interpretation of something. Right? Then we can look beyond the words, the actions that people are doing and see the light that's behind that. See the gift. And this is why it's great to be in communities and in team, because we have an opportunity there. All relationships, okay, the only purpose of every single relationship is to contribute to the healing of the world. That is it. And the healing of the world is the world in your mind. The healing of this world, that you can see that this is a loving, peaceful, generous, kind world, that I can trust it. It's the healing of that world. Because as God is in your mind, God is all you will see. If love is on your mind, love is all you're going to see. But if you're like, this world is dangerous, you will literally seek out things to defend that. It's not the truth, right? Truth needs no defense. Perception and interpretations needs constant defense. You're going to look for evidence. You don't even know you're doing it. You will look for evidence why sickness, illness is real. You're going to look for evidence why people can't be trusted. You're going to look for evidence why the government can't be trusted. Like, it just goes on over and over. But the good news is we're going to make it simple. There is only 2 thought systems ever taking place. Either you believe that everyone shares one will, and even though right now in this moment it may not look like it, it looks chaotic, but it's only because your mind is twisted and you are on the other thought system, which is that there are so many different people out there. Everybody have different wills, everybody have different desires. See, once you get to a certain point of A Course in Miracles and you become what you call yourself a teacher of God, you have committed and dedicated to the thought system that everybody shares one will, one desire. And from that place, we can look upon our brothers and our sisters, our parents, like everywhere we go, with compassion, with kindness, with love and understanding. So, sin in the sight of the Holy Spirit is a mistake to be corrected rather than an evil to be punished. Our sense of inadequacy, weakness, and incompletion comes from the strong investment in the scarcity principle that governs the world of illusions. From that point of view, we seek in others what we are wanting in ourselves. We just want to be right. We want to be right about things. Think about that for a second. Every time you are angry, you express and you rage outwards because you want people around you to know that I'm justified in my anger, that I'm right about it, that I said some mean things to somebody. Now I'm going around telling other people why I'm justified in the mean things I'm saying. Right? We do this. We look for people. We're looking for people to gather around, and this is why sometimes we can't help it, but like talk behind people's backs. And one of the good practices is literally just catch yourself and don't talk about people, good or bad. Now, when somebody wrongs us or we perceive that they wronged us, we just want to tell a lot of people, because I want people to get and say it's okay that I reacted the way I did. And when that's happening, you can for sure recognize that this is not the truth of what's going on here, because it's requiring more people to buy into it, to defend against something, to say that this is right. My reactions were right. It's justified. And we kind of spew poison around. And we got to recognize that, because yesterday I was doing a podcast interview, and the and my guest was like, I've always wanted to be a sales guy. Like, all the sales guys in the company, they were so cool. They went out, they had drinks, and I was in the IT, like the nerdy section and whatever. And the cool sales guys were like, the jocks in the school. They were always joking around, throwing the football around, whatever. They just seemed cool. They drove the nice fancy cars, right? They got the biggest checks. And one day he just went to the bar that they were hanging at, and he looked up to these guys, and the dude was probably a little bit drunk, but he was like, hey, you're never going to be a sales guy. You don't got what it takes to be a sales guy. Because he wanted to be like, he wanted to pick his brain about, sales. And he carried that on for 20 years. 20 years, he decided that he could not be in sales and that, he was just going to sit back and do the IT and be inward, right? See, he's also defending his experience. He's also making up a whole bunch of stories why he can't be a sales guy either. But this is the power of our words. Like, are you that's a relationship right there. And he actually said that he just ran into him like maybe a month ago or something. And the dude is just extremely lost right now. He's like, he doesn't really know what to do. He's like semi-retired. And he's like, I don't really know what to do. So it's because when you've been playing a certain role, see, in sales, sometimes, okay, it is dangerous. Well, not dangerous, but in sales, you could get lost in there, just like in anything else that you do. When you're trying to get something out of somebody, when you make a living out of manipulating and getting something out of somebody, you could get lost in there until you recognize that every relationship, even right now, we might be talking about me selling you some pool equipment or something, or a stock or a bond or, savings plan or real estate investment. I'm enrolling you and I'm inviting you to it. But this moment right here, how does it contribute to the healing of the world? That's the question. Every relationship, the purpose of every relationship is to figure out how it contributes to the healing of the world. And the world literally is just happening right there. It's not the entire world. Like, eventually, yes, the collective mind will go there. But right now, the world is literally what I'm making real in my mind. So we seek in others what we are wanting in ourselves. We think we are wanting in ourselves, actually. Okay, we think there's a lack, there's a hole that needs to be filled. So we seek it in others to fulfill that. So we end up loving other people to get something ourselves. All relationships kind of turn over there. Like, I'm in this relationship and I'm loving you. I love you. I'm making so many sacrifices, but it's actually masked in me trying to get something myself. The inadequacy, the feeling of loneliness, whatever it is, I'm trying to get something myself. So we love another in order to get something ourselves. That, in fact, is what passes for love in this dream world. That's why there's so many people that just don't believe in it. They're like, dude, what? How many times can I hurt myself? And everybody becomes armored up, skeptical, jaded about relationships. So the Course says that there can be no greater mistakes than that. For love is incapable of asking for anything. Now, let's look at our relationships in that way. Am I committed to this relationship without anything in return? That means, can I give love without anything in return? Every feeling of disappointment, every feeling of people being rude and attacking us, because on some level, there's an expectation. I want you to give back to me a certain way, the way I want to see it. Why don't you just can I get a thank you? Right? Like, every time we get into a fight or we get into something, even with, like, I hear from kids and parents and stuff. It's like, parents, number one thing is like, I just want my kids to be grateful for all the shit that I did. You know how much sacrifice I had to make? And that's the thinking that gets us to lose our peace. Like, all we want is a freaking, can I get a thank you? Can I get some acknowledgments? Right? And we do that. Kids are not kids. When you just go and you're like, I'm going to be this, like, contributor to the world. I'm going to host these these free calls and just talk about spirituality and help people through things and help myself through things, right? Can I get a thank you from somebody? No, I don't get a thing, right? That's the ego. The ego's like looking for confirmation all the time because it feels like there's a sense of inadequacy. You have, no matter what you do, I need somebody to tell me that I'm doing the right thing. And it's until we realize and we heal the world in ourselves that we realize that the world isn't coming from the outside. The world comes from the inside. The world that we can trust. And the world isn't even governed by this whole thing outside. It's governed by here, by something that is inside us already. And from that space, nothing will ever be lacking. And from that space, we're always safe. We don't have to impress anybody. We don't have to doing all that. Thanks, Kalia. And welcome back. I haven't seen you in a minute. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. All valuable stuff. Thank you for always being there for me.
Of course. So, Natalia, do you want to share anything? I know I just, hog the space.
I was just listening to you, and what came to mind was sometimes how instead of trusting in God, and when I trust in my own strength. So like this morning, I have a showing at this morning after this call, and I was thinking, I gotta make this happen. And then I listened to Marianne Williamson, and it was so perfect because she was talking about how like when we try to make things happen ourselves, we're not trusting in God and everything that's assigned to happen. So it's kind of like we get in our own way. And so, so I was thinking how I was doing that this morning, how I was kind of like getting in my own way of like wanting the situation to turn out the way that I wanted it to turn out. And then when I heard that, I was like, okay, just going in on empty and trusting that whatever happens in the situation and the showing with this person, but if I go with an agenda, then the situation that's meant to happen, I will be in resistance of it. I will not be open for it to occur. Mm-hmm. So I was just I wanted to share that because that was really powerful for me this morning. And I noticed how I do that a lot in my life when I want things to work out a certain way. And so it's kind of like, and noticing that, that's not love. And it's kind of like being attached to what I want certain things to the way that I want them to unfold. And noticing and being in the practice of that has been extremely powerful. And then knowing, and trusting in God and giving it over to the Holy Spirit and saying, today I'm a vessel, and that's in that space, that's where miracles happen. Mm-hmm. Instead of going with an agenda to meeting this person, whether it's a meeting, it's a showing, it's a date, whatever it may be, instead of going with an agenda, going open on empty to the opportunities of miracles happening. And I feel like when I do that in my life, that's when I'm open to miracles occurring.
Yeah. Anytime we don't trust, anytime we are, anxiety or any of that can only truly happen when we believe somehow, when we just believe in our own strengths, right? So I was trying to find the section in the course that talks about it. So maybe I'll just real quick make a Google search. Yeah, go ahead. Is that what I posted this morning or yesterday? God is 11, which I forget. Well, no, I didn't post that. But anyways, I just flipped to another one, which was pretty good. So this lesson, this is part of the workbook. It's lesson 68. So this is a good one. Whenever I see this one, I always stop and pause because the lesson says, Love holds no grievances. Okay, so that means we can search our minds and we can today begin to discover love. Let's look at all the places in which we hold grievances. Okay. You who were created by love like itself can hold no grievances and know yourself. If you hold grievances, you are no longer recognizing yourself, your true self. To hold a grievance is to forget who you are. To hold a grievance is to see yourself as a body. To hold a grievance is to let the ego rule your mind and to condemn the body to death. It's pretty extreme, but it's trying to make a point. Of course, trying to make a point. Perhaps you do not yet fully realize just what holding the grievance, you do not fully realize what holding the grievance does to your mind. It seems to split you off from your source and make you unlike him. It makes you believe that he is what you think you have become. For no one can conceive of his creator as unlike himself. So, this is the interesting part, right? God, and this is our practice all the times, we try to make God like us. We give God our own emotions, our own judgments, our own grievances. Like God's going to hold it against us. That's our attribute, not his, right? All will be forgiven. You know, you know, spread love and all of that. You need not fear God and all these things that the Bible and Jesus has said to us and the course. But we still put our own attributes to God. Like we can make deals with God, right? How many times do we do that? Oh man, please make this happen. I'll be so good. I'm never gonna do this again. I'll make sure that I hug my wife every day. Like what? Who are we making a deal with? It's freaking crazy. It's so funny. So you shut yourself off from yourself, from your big capital self, which remains aware of its likeness to its creator. Yourself seems to be sleep, while what part of your mind that weaves illusions in its sleep appears to be awake. Can this arise from holding grievances? Oh, yes. For those who hold grievances denies that he was created by love, and his creator has become fearful of him in his dream of hate. Who can dream of hatred and not fear God? Right? If you judge other people, at some point it is because you are either afraid that you're going to be judged and you're lashing out, right? Because we are afraid. We're like, ooh, judgment's real. And somebody's going to judge me. So let me go and lash out first. This is why everybody knows the psychology of a bully, right? A bully is literally projecting my own insecurities so that I shame somebody else or I make somebody else less than, right? Like I have the need to look better or be stronger in front of people, but inside, what's underneath all that is just a scared little boy or scared little girl. And it's no different here. So, can we see through that as a witnesser to life, as a witnesser to our brothers and our sisters? Can we see through that too? Right? When my wife flips out on me or, gives me attitude, can I just look beyond it? It's not at me. It's just her expression of a sense of inadequacy or lack in that moment. So it's lashed out. That's not who you are. See, I could be at peace with everything she says. I can literally pierce and cut through all those attacks as long as those attacks stop existing in my own mind. It only lands and it hits me because on some level in my mind, I still think that is a trigger point. That's a touchy subject to talk about because it's not healed. So then again, the purpose of this relationship right here is to contribute to the healing of my world in my mind. Why would I even become triggered by something? It must be because I've made something real that isn't real. The innocent child of God has no area which love doesn't exist. Has no lack. You have no lack. I have no lack. But we perceive it to be so. And so we hold all these grievances, and these grievances turn into some sort of lack, and then it turns into projection. It turns into attack and judgments and wanting to be right about all sorts of things. And really, what it always points to is that this world is not safe. Like, it's just not a safe place. I can't trust this person. I can't trust that person. And we literally sabotage ourselves all the time. We don't even give it a chance because we hold these grievances in our minds. So the recognition that, where do I hold grievances? So it actually says you have to be willing to relinquish your grievances if you are to believe where this is all so. Perhaps you don't think that you can let your grievances go. That, however, is simply a matter of motivation. Today, we will try to find out how you would feel without them. If you succeed, even by ever so little, there will never be a problem in motivation again. All right, so we just need motivation. Thank you, course. Thank you, God. All we need is motivation. So what do we got to do? So you begin today's extended practice period by searching your mind for those against whom you hold what you regard as major grievances. Some of those will be quite easy to find. We probably can think of that, right? In this moment, I can't really think of one, but maybe, actually, you know what? The seller of this deal that we're buying the property from, there's definitely some grievances in my mind about this shit. Okay. So, so, and it's not even true. It's just my own defending something, probably. Okay. This attack is not warranted. It is not justified, but I just, and I want to use, I mean, I'm just throwing an example out there for you guys so that you can see where you are holding major grievances. Just scan your field, scan your mind. Okay, do multiple scans throughout the day. Who am I holding grievances against? And it could literally be your partner. I'm holding grievances because she says that I never ever put my socks away when I just did it yesterday. But she said never. But I did it yesterday. Just sometimes it's out in places that it doesn't belong. Okay. I don't know. Maybe sometimes it ends up on the dining table for some reason. But it's not never. So then I'm holding grievances, right? And then I'm like, well, she's holding grievance against me, so I'm gonna hold it against her. And so search your mind for all the places. Okay. Quite easy to find one. Major grievances. All right. Then think about the minor grievances in which you hold those against that you think you love. People that you think you love, people that you actually like. Look to see where you hold some minor grievances. Okay, it will quickly become apparent that there is no one against whom you do not cherish grievances of some sort. This has left you all alone in the universe in perception of yourself. So the goal here is to recognize that somehow we are holding on and we get some value. There's a payoff for holding grievances against these people. See, awareness is the beginning of transformation. The awareness of it, of what I've made valuable, which is not valuable at all. Like, wow, I held on, I'm cherishing grievances. See, not only have we brought that awareness to ourselves, but we've also, because we recognize that we brought the power back to ourselves, that means I can do something about it. I'm not a victim to the world outside anymore. Determined now to see all these people as friends. Say to them all, thinking of each one in turn as you do, I would see you as my friend, and that I may remember you as part of me and come to know myself. The question here is, who is myself? And then you spend the remainder practice period trying to think of yourself as completely at peace with everyone and everything, safe in a world that protects you and loves you and that you love in return. Try to feel safety surrounding you, hovering over you and holding you up. Try to believe, however briefly, that nothing can harm you in any way. And then at the end of the practice, say to yourself, love holds no grievances. When I let all my grievances go, I will know that I am perfectly safe. So, it's my own grievances that makes the world unsafe to me. That's it. What'd you guys think? What'd you guys hear? What'd you guys think?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What if my partner is professional in holding grievances?
Aha. See, here we go. Right away. The first thing that is said is, oh my God, I'm not good at it, but he's really good at it.
No. I admit to myself that I'm good at it, and I right away went into like, okay, yeah, I see now. But then I was like, okay,
And the
my
ego,
partner
yeah, and
is
the
doing it longer than me. Like sometimes for this, and I'm like, babe, why are you doing this? We're past that. He's like, no, but remember. I'm like, gosh, okay.
yeah.
Okay, let's remember together. Okay.
Right. So look, this work is a one-way street, okay? And it's great. This is so perfect what you said, because we're talking about the letting go and searching grievances in our own mind so that we may come to peace. And the ego's like, wait. Hold on. Before you do that, what about him? Like, what about him? He needs to do this, right? Like, if he only did this, then I would be able to do it. Our relationship would be better because I don't need to do it right now if he just did it. See, right there, immediately, that reveals the grievance that you hold. You hold a grievance that he holds a grievance. And now it's like, oh, here I go again. Right? Let me bring the power back to myself. It isn't about the world around me. See, as long as you hold that grievance and you shared it perfectly, it isn't safe. Your relationship isn't safe for you because he holds grievances. Well, stop holding grievance about him holding grievances so that you can open this new moment to love and new possibilities. But that was so perfect, because we do that. Like we're working on, finding peace and tranquility and ourselves and being able to align ourselves to the will of God. And then all of a sudden the ego's like, wait, the other thought system, here it comes. Other people have different wills. He must want to hold his grievance. Maybe what I should do is focus on showing him that he's holding grievances, right? So that maybe we'll have a chance. See, the fact that that would even need to happen and the fact that you even address it, it will not release the grievances. All it actually does, it will have him more entrenched and be right about the way he's holding it. That's why you can never attack somebody and correct it for them. The only thing is you can correct it in your own mind about the way you see it. That's all you can do. And the more that you see it, the more that you're correcting it, the more you allow a space for somebody else to do it too. Because the same spirit that is flowing through you that's going to help you get through it is flowing through him as well. And that's what you got to see. That's what you got to believe into. Right? When grievances are in the way, when grievances are there, it blocks us from being able to know ourselves. We can't know ourselves because we're so focused on the other person. We're like trying to paint this picture of this other person, of your partner. And I'm going to hold you right there. I've made you as a character of somebody that holds more grievances than me. Let's focus on that. You can't do nothing about that. If you try to do something about it, it actually reinforces it and makes that grievance that he holds even stronger. But a demonstration of you releasing your own grievances will naturally manifest something in form. All thoughts create form on some level. It begins with the thoughts. So yeah, that was great. Thanks for demonstrating that amazing lesson right there.
You're welcome.
Okay, who else? Who else we gonna blame? How you guys feeling? What are you guys thinking? What are you guys seeing?
Hey Alex, I think number one. Holding grievances. So thank you for that. I just saw that. It's so easy because it's there.
Yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
So thank you for that realization. I just have that.
Yeah, amazing. And then we have to reinforce it. We have the realization, but we forget because that's just what we do. We're so righteous about our grievances. We're going to forget about this conversation real quick. But it's the constant practice. That's why the course, this book, isn't something that you just read through once. Like, yeah. I also read that book 7 years ago. Cool. You probably, if you haven't practiced it, you probably don't remember anything about it. Right? Because it's an every single day reminder and practice. You're training your mind of how to surrender, how to give it over. That's what you're training your mind to do constantly. And it's not easy. It's simple though, but it's not easy. And every day we come up against this something. Go ahead. Hey. Hi. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, well enough. Hi. Oh my God.
Alex Fan. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Well, no, I'm just gonna put it out there because it's not a question. It's just so. But what about honoring this like human experience? And I know you always put it so beautiful. You always say, when I have a lack of something in the moment, when I am grieving my partner grieving, and I know, like we all know, like we all here in this call know with all the people that is in this transformational and everything. We know that's a reminder. And still we get somehow get to honor this human experience.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Totally. You can experience what you're experiencing, but the question is, what is it for? Right? Like we experience things, we can experience sadness and coming out to the other side of just this extreme, amazing feeling of love. Or the sadness can end up going towards the other way, which is this world isn't safe. What's the point of it all? I can't hold on to anything anyways. Right? There's just literally only two perceptions that show up. So you got to ask yourself, what is it for? Like, by all means, feel your feelings, experience it, because it's meant to happen, meant to teach you. But you got to ask yourself, what is it for? Is it for the purposes of healing, or is it for the purposes of judgment and attack? Right? And so the healing is going to come from you shifting your mind. Like you go through some things to see, death can either be sad and you can see, wow, I can't hold on to anything and this is terrible. I don't know what's going on. Or death can represent the beautiful times that things were not dead or person was not dead, right? There's two ways to look at it. One contributes to the healing of your mind. The other takes you down a dark hole of despair and what's the point of it all, right? So you always got to ask yourself, what is it for? What am I doing this for?
Nelson was laughing. Brother, I want to share something. Guys, hi family, ACRM family. Alex, thank you for hosting and the service that you did for all of us. Thank you. Safe space here. This morning, we're in this beautiful bed and breakfast, Airbnb, right? Gorgeous. My wife's about to take a shower, and Jessica, our sister, is sleeping very close to us. There's other people in this Airbnb bed and breakfast. And I said, my love, I'm whispering, right? But I said, my love, the shower is like a magic. And she goes, shh. And she shushes me. Oh my God.
You love that.
So that's all I love that.
I was like, what the freak? How dare you push me up like I'm a little kid? I went, my ego, my little brain, my little committee went on for half an hour. At least half an hour. I went for a walk and I was like, but what is this for? Why am I feeling this? I want to like torture the woman. Part of me, right? And I was like, this is for my healing. But it didn't feel good in the process. And sometimes it would sabotage that higher thinking that I know, like the awareness, like what the hell's going on with me right now? What's triggering me? Maybe when I was a kid, I was disrespected. I don't know, told to hush. And now I'm 57 years old, nobody's gonna tell me to hush. It was a trip, man. It was a trip. So everything he said to me, and Eric, I shared with brother Eric, because we're hanging out together, right? And so it was, thank you, brother. If you're listening, love you. Thank you for being there with me. And just to let go of that shit. She did nothing wrong. She was concerned about maybe other things. Nothing. It doesn't matter. There's this saying out there that every people say all the time. Thank you for this beautiful message this morning. Life does not happen from me. Excuse me. Life doesn't happen to me. It happens from me.
And it happens for you too.
Piss me off. For you. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, well, hold on. Sorry, I muted you, Claudia, because you guys have a repeat. You got to unmute yourself again.
Again, did you hear? What did you hear? What is the last part? Did you hear?
I heard Nelson, and I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay. So he said the life is for me or from me. The life happens from me, right? So what I was saying, like I exactly knew. But last night I keep telling you because they have in this Airbnb. It was beautiful, but they have these rules, and I do break a lot of rules, but there's certain things that I for consideration and compassion to people for how they live their lives. They're being very mindful, and I am very mindful to that. And Nelson doesn't realize he has a very deep voice, and when he's passionate, like right now, he has a really like this voice, like that. Right? So he goes to that. Jessica sleeping next to him. And I say, yeah, I know. And I'm like, shh, I know. I do like that. Very gentle, very like, like just a reminder that there's people sleeping all around. And then I kind of knew because he just got out of the bedroom without saying goodbye, give me a kiss, nothing. And exactly what he does.
I'll show her.
Yeah, this is all the time. But I'm like, okay, that's on you. You want to have retaliation? Go ahead, have fun. And every time that he shares something, and then I come and like back it up, whatever the story is, I see that Tasia and Leika.
Lyra.
Because Leila. How do you say her name?
Lyra. Lyra.
Okay. But you always crack me up. And you girls like crack me up because I'm present to you're smiling and laughing because we know that all this all their makeup. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's funny. I mean, it's the little boy and the little girl that comes out. It's like I said shh, and then he goes off on his tangent, and then I'm like, well, he's gonna go. See, there's so much. What we want to see right there, and for every one of us that's witnessing this story too, is how would I have participated in that? How did I participate in the conflict? That's what we want to look at. Like, we can both all experience our experience. We can let each other experience the experience. Great. But then we want to look at how did I contribute to this conflict? Okay, for example, and then how do I resolve it? How do I create an agreement around it? Like, for example, that shh thing that you do and Nelson freaks out. When love tells me relax, I freak out. Like, if I'm like, if I say something and she's like, relax. I'm like, in my mind, it's the same thing, Nelson, it's the same thing. I flip out in my mind. Like, in that moment, I'll just stop talking. Whatever is happening, I just stop because I'm just like, relax. I've said it a million times. I just start going into this righteous path. Like, who tells me to relax? Right? Like, I'm like, I get to share how I feel, right? And then I get the little boy comes out that's like, crying and complaining about stuff, right? About that I'm not being treated fairly in this moment. So now we've got an agreement, hey, relax is not something that helps me out. Like, I'll work around that myself, and this will be a lesson for me. I'll feel how I feel, but also recognizing how silly I feel, right? Like, how stupid am I to throw a fit over the word relax? And then Nelson's also doing his own thing. Now he can start laughing at it more. That means the time of him losing his peace and losing his mind about that. Okay. But also on Claudia's side, don't think like, oh yeah, this is awesome. I'm just teaching him a lesson, right? Like, we want to just see like, where can we participate and, how do we participate in the conflict? And if this is like in the presence of fear, miracles do not happen. Those things do not happen. So if you try to put him into a more position to here, I'm going to give you more training stuff. See, miracles cannot be under conscious control. You cannot guide it. It will be misguided if you try to control the situation and do it. You're like, I'm just going to say shh a couple more times. So maybe I'm going to help him. I'm gonna help him. So I'm just gonna say relax every time so that he can come back shorter and shorter. See, that's gonna be misguided, right? Because a different type of attack is gonna show up in my mind. I'm gonna be like, wow, okay. So now not only am I triggered by the word relax, but now I'm also triggered by the fact that she just doesn't listen to anything I say or how I react and all of that, right? So we always want to take everything back and we bring the ownership back to ourselves. That somehow, how did I participate in the conflict? Because sometimes there's a bypassing that happens for students of the course, which is, oh, well, they lost their stuff. That's their own thing. Now, yes, on one level, it is their own thing. It's not yours. But on another, how did I participate in that? See, now the opportunity of healing happens for you. We don't need to bypass it. I participated in the conflict. Now, if you didn't recognize the conflict was happening at all, that would be better. But if you recognize conflict at all and you're just trying to bypass it, that doesn't really support you. It's actually in a space of denial. But if you recognize conflict and you're like, oh man, conflict is in my mind. I see it. It must be here. That means the purpose of this whole thing is for the healing of this conflict in my mind. That I was even able to see it. Right? We always want to bring it back. We bring it back so that we may discover who it is that we are. Grievances block you from knowing who you are. Okay, so what else? Great shares. Awesome shares this morning. How you doing? How you doing, Jessica?
How you doing, Jessica?
Oh yeah, you too. Hi, Jessica, my sister. Hi. You got.
I just wanted to add it, speaking about this, because I say, okay, well, what is the quick thing? What you to remind you to like whisper, like what you want me to say, like you don't get triggered. He's like, no, that's on me. You don't have to do anything. You're not doing anything wrong. I'm like, okay. There's no agreement. There's no agreement that you're working yours, right? Like me, like I thought because I know it happened in the past, and I just did it because I reminder him, and then I walk out like hoping, expectations that he was going to be there, give me a kiss and say, okay, now I'm gonna walk, okay? That's what I told me last night. And then he was gone, and I knew that was okay, now he's doing his process.
Yeah.
Then I had to let go. And it had let go. He's the one who brought it up, right? So another thing is that I want to be invited again to the Airbnb.
You guys are funny.
Well, you can go without me then.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's great. Like, laugh about it. You know, these are moments when we take things too seriously, and when we literally look at the fits that we throw, like, it's all laugh. It's literally comical. Like, a couple weeks ago, you know, I shared with everyone, I got so upset that I punched the wall. Okay. And this was, and I guess the Vegas walls, they're not like sheetrock walls. They're actually really solid, but there's still a hole in the wall. And every time I see it, I'm just like, it's comical how crazy how upset I was in that moment. Like, how did and I look at it and now, and I laugh at it every day. It's not like a shaming myself. I'm just like, I can't believe how silly that was. You know, and every time we throw a fit, when we can get to a place of just laughter, joy is the way to healing. You know, and yeah. Who else wants to share anything? Dwight, welcome, brother.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. Ooh. Let's see. What can we read from Marion Williamson's A Year of Miracles? Mm-hmm. Ooh. They're all so good. Anybody else want to share anything though? Okay. Well, then I will read something to evoke and to see if we can create some fresh conversations. We still got some time on this call. So this is in the book. It's on day 40. It's for reflection. Okay, it's for your reflections, for all of our reflections, in case we didn't know. On awakening. If you want to believe that what your physical eyes can see is all that it is there, then fine, you can. Stay in that small stay in that small faction of perceptual reality if you choose. But at some point, even if that point is at the point of death, we all know better. I've seen cynics become mystics on their deathbeds. We are here as though in a material dream from which the spiritual nature of our larger reality is calling us to awaken. The magician, the alchemist, the miracle worker is simply someone who has woken up to the material delusions of the world and decided to live another way. In a world gone mad, we can choose to be sane. In order to move ourselves and our civilization into the next phase of evolutionary journey, it is time for us all to awaken. There you go. Call yourself whatever you want, but you got to break yourself off from the illusions of this world. So that's what the Course says. Here's your opportunity. You choose to be the teacher of God. What else? Natalia, you want to share some things? You want to how's your journey with A Course in Miracles? I know you're a pretty recent student of the course, but you've really absorbed it and you've really gone fast with it and applied it and made it a big part of your life. How's your journey?
I have. It's really interesting to kind of look back because I've had that book sitting on my shelf for years before I would open it up and start reading it, but I guess it wasn't time. And and I started coming to these classes on, or these talks and your Zooms on Wednesdays and Sundays, and then all of a sudden I started opening the book and reading and being more committed to reading it every day. And it wasn't until I was actually like going through challenges that really that I decided to go more in depth into the book, and that's when it actually started clicking for me. And I don't know if it's like that for everybody, but it was in a moment where I was just like, I was looking for answers. And as I started to read the book and being open to receiving and seeing the miracles in life, that's how my relationship kind of like with the Course in Miracles began. And so now I read it every morning. I do the course workbook every day, and I think it's so perfect how every day is just so perfect, and it sets me up for the day ahead. And then something happens throughout the day that I can put that into practice. So I think it's always so divine. And yeah, so that's how I've been with the book. And it's interesting because although like it makes sense to me, and I live my life in a way, like according to the book, sort of, like, I guess, to say something, but I don't know how to explain it. But at the same time, when I'm talking about the Course in Miracles, I feel like, and maybe, that's the ego thinking, like, I don't know enough. I haven't done the workbook enough. I haven't done enough of that. So I don't know if you have anything to say about that. Like, I want to be able to come to a space of like feeling confident about speaking about the Course in Miracles from a place of, as opposed to thinking, I don't know enough to be talking about this. And at the same time, like, how often do we do that in life? Not only about the Course in Miracles, but, in our careers, in our relationships. Who am I to speak about relationships when this? Or who am I to close this $1 million deal when I haven't closed a $750 or something like that, whatever that is in life. But I feel like that's where I'm at with the course now.
Yeah, so that's the ego coming in there, right? Because before these calls, and it just takes practice, it takes multiple times speaking it and reinforcing it into your mind. There are definitely plenty of parts of the course that I will continue to learn and get better and remember more. There's probably majority of this course I don't really remember. But the thing is, I know that every single answer, all the things that the course talks about, deep inside, we all already know. We can recognize the truth. Like, we already know it. So it inside, but now it comes down to, can I get past the ego and the judgment of myself? And it starts with a prayer of, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say? To whom on this call? All right? It's all up to you. Just let me be a vessel right here on this call to deliver whatever message is needed to be delivered. I have no freaking idea what anybody is getting away from this call, right? I can use examples in my own life. I can use my understandings of the course. I can use my own understandings to share things. And that's why I keep opening it up to tell me your side, right? I mean, and it was perfect. Galia had a great freaking contribution to something. We were co-creating a teaching, a learning right there that was happening. So you are always a part of that as well, right? But the second we put ourselves in this special role, I'm a teacher. Teacher is for me to be up here and tell you this, but it's not. Being a teacher, being a leader, I think I actually put it on here somewhere. It's being a leader is to be deeply concerned for your fellow brothers and sisters. Being a teacher is to hold the space for people's gifts to shine through. It's not about what I will look like, what people will think about me. You see, like now that's the other side of the teaching, the other perspective that shows up. We start worrying about what other people think, and then what I think about what other people think, and then just down that rabbit hole you go. Instead, there's no opposite wills, there's no opposite desires. I'm part of the co-creation of this one will, right? I've been divinely assigned to be in this body of who I am to play a role for the services of healing the world. If I focus on the service part, then there's nothing really to worry about. Who can I serve? Like when you get on this call, who are you speaking to? All right, you just pick, and for me, it's been what's been helpful that I've done is I just pick one person that I'm speaking to, like in my mind, and it's always throughout the week. I will have multiple conversations with people, and then on these calls, I just dedicate it to that person. In my mind, I don't need to say who it is. I don't need to do whatever, but I just start speaking about it. Usually, the title of this call will give it away to the person that had the conversation with me. They would know if they saw it. Right? So I'm always kind of like, there's a calling out, there's an invitation to people to come into my life, come into my space. Let's co-create, let's share together, let's heal the world together. And the Course says that every single time. See, you have to, in order to do that, you have to recognize that we are all one will. We are all going to have God's will happen. But the lesson 47 is what I was looking for before is God is the strength in which I trust. If you are trusting in your own strength, you have every reason to be apprehensive, anxious, and fearful. Because what can you actually predict or control? What is there in you that you can actually count on? What would give you the ability to be aware of all facets of any problem and to resolve them in such a way that only good comes of it? You got none of that. You can't do anything about anything. You can't control anything. So the fighting against it, the fighting it like, no, I don't prefer this to happen. I know my life would be better if this deal just happened. If I just got this deal to go through, everything would be good. Everybody would give me a applause and pat on the shoulders, all this crap. And then, but am I supposed to be in this deal? Right? Like, am I fighting it? Am I forcing it? Like, because one day something could happen. I'm like, shit, I wish I wasn't in this deal. Right? There's plenty of people right now going through that stuff, going through the resentments. But also, once you're in, can I be at peace with being in? Right? And all of this it's only between you and you. And then at the end of the day, is this the direction that I feel like life is bringing me towards? Am I supposed to be doing, like, there are people in my life that I feel very attracted to, you know? And it's not like women, like I'm just not attracted to women, but dudes too. Actually, there's more dudes right now. Not like okay, so I'm like spiritually attracted to them, okay? And I'm like, okay, I need to do things with people, you know? And that's why people that are in my space, in my sphere a lot, I want to create a community around that. You know, let me be there for you. Let me create a group of support system of people being there for each other. And so that's what I'm committed to creating. Because the last 2 weeks, I was literally like, what the hell am I doing? Why did I put all this stress on my own shoulders? For what? I didn't have to do that. But I know what I want to create in the world. And it starts with being able to touch the lives of as many people as I can. So now, if I trusted in my own strength, of course, all this anxiety and fear and doubts come up because I'm like, it should run this way. People should all say this about me, and people shouldn't say that about me. And I'm just like, okay, well, if it was up to me, then, you know, would I not be stressed at the end of the day? Right. So giving it all over to God, knowing that you're not in control of anything. So, of yourself, you can do none of these things. To believe that you can is to put your trust where it is unwarranted and to justify fear, anxiety, depression, anger, and sorrow. Who can put his faith in the weakness and feel safe? Who can put his faith in strength and feel weak?
Speaking of no control,
Uh-huh.
I just got a text message from the agent that I had a showing with. Sorry, I had to cancel. My client had to reschedule. And I had texted her to confirm the showing this morning, and she hadn't replied. And then after past the time of the showing, she texted that back. And as you were speaking into having no control of something, and how I said and shared earlier that I wanted this to go in a certain way, and then shifting to being open to whatever happens and trusting and putting it on God. And then this happens. I was like, oh, great.
Yeah. And every moment is that. We don't have no control of anything. Can we just simply be at peace with it and be curious enough to have peace when things show up? Oh, somebody just rear-ended my car. What's that about? What's our immediate go-to, though? That's the interesting part. Our immediate go-to will be a certain reaction, but can I interrupt myself so much? Can I be in daily practices so much that when it happens, I'm like, oh, what's that about? And then I actually go and say, hey, how you doing? Like the person that rear ends me, right? How are you doing? Instead of just go straight into you hurt me. But that takes practice every single day. For events like that to happen, to check, hey, are you actually committed to this work for yourself? Are you committed to being awake? Or do you want to be asleep in that moment? Somebody rear ends you, you go right into victim. Right into the world, reaffirming the world is not safe. The world is full of idiots that can't drive. Like what do you want your world to be? Because when somebody, think about the emotional things that's happening. Okay, when somebody rear ends somebody, okay, probably the person that rear ended the other person is like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I'm so stupid. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. I hope they're not hurt. Now they're going to sue me. So there's probably that. And then there's probably a sense of, well, this person's stupid. Why did they break right here? And something, right? We try to release ourselves of any blame. But there's this fear and anxiety of, wow, what's going to happen to me? And then the person in the front that got rear-ended comes out and says, hey, how are you? Like, are you okay? And all of that can shift the entire thing. That's a miracle moment right there. It can shift the entire thing. But what ends up happening, okay, is this. People get out of their car like, oh, my back. It's like, this is an opportunity for me to get out of work. Maybe I get a check from insurance, but my back. I need to go to a chiropractor, all this stuff. You might not even be injured, but the fact that you keep thinking you're injured actually creates an injury. And then it ends up, and we want to be so right. This is how insane humans are. We want to be so right that we talk about this injury. We got this money that we probably might not have even needed to get. And then we have to carry this pain because I'm like, oh, well, I hurt my back and my back is still not good right now. That's why I got this sum of money. Right? We're always justifying something. And we're literally willing to be hurt to do that, to hurt our bodies. Because sometimes, and I don't know what, like, before I went to Peru, I had this big pain in my hip. And I don't know what I was really being right about. But when I had a mind shift around it, I was like, no, I'm no longer going to carry this pain around. It like disappeared and went away forever. I spent like $4,000 also. Like, I can't really remember when it started and all that, but I spent like $4,000 going to the chiropractor, getting stretched out, trying to fix my hip problem. And all that did was, I don't know, it moved my pain around and I still had it. Like, I still had it, couldn't fix it. And then I, went to Peru and drank this nasty tea thing and then healed myself in my mind because I let go of something. I forgave something. So it's powerful in that way too. We know that the world works mysteriously like that. We know synchronicities are a blessing. We're like, holy crap, this is way too crazy. The synchronicities of something, right? It's literally a reminder that this world is governed by something that is bigger. It's not governed by the government. The laws of this world is not created. Like, there's just something else happening behind it. There's an intelligence that is divinely having us meet. There's an intelligence having things work out or not work out or whatever. Something's always happening. And none of it's by accident. You are not by accident. Okay. So, last thoughts. 2 more minutes. Awesome. Well, I hope everybody has an amazing day and need a clip of that. I don't know which clip, Jake. I forget. You got to remind me. All right, then. We will go out on a lesson here. Let's see. Okay, this one will do. This is lesson 338. So take a deep breath in, let it out. Everything that we talked about here. Okay, you don't need to hold on or grasp on to any of it because you already know. Deep inside, we all already know. So lesson 338. I am affected only by my thoughts. It needs but this to let salvation come to the world. For this single thought is everyone released at last from fear. Now has he learned that no one frightens him and nothing can endanger him. He has no enemies and he is safe from all external things. His thoughts can frighten him, but since these thoughts belong to him alone, he has the power to change them and exchange each fear thought for a happy thought of love. He crucified himself, yet God has planned that his beloved son will be redeemed. Your plan is sure, my Father, and only yours. All other plans will fail, and I will have thoughts that will frighten me until I learn that you have given me the only thought that leads me to salvation. My alone will fail and lead me nowhere, but the thought you gave me promises to lead me home because it holds your promise to your son. I am affected only by my thoughts. Lesson 338. All right. Amen. Thank you all for being here.
Amen, brother. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Drive safe. Enjoy Georgia.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Great lesson, Alex. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, brother. Great call.
Thank you.
Bye.